There's a window, it's hard to see. Get a rough idea though. On the boutique.
We are now the sailing capital of the country, and we have an international reputation. And so, and this industry is very important to the bond rating that the city continues to get AA+ from our bonders when we go out to borrow money. And so it is really a very, very important industry. But 50 years ago, it wasn't much here. It was not. It was a waterman's community. That is true. But in terms of sailing, in terms of both recreational and professional, it didn't exist. A man by the name of Arnie Gay, who I consider really the father of the maritime industry as we have it today, came to town with a broken down car, $7 in his pocket after World War II, saw the creeks and a couple of broken down docks and rats, as he will tell you. On this short term back, I am supposed to tell you a little bit about the maritime industry in the city of Annapolis. Okay? Yep. Yeah. You know, we are now the sailing capital of the country, and we have an international reputation. And so, and this industry is very important to the bond rating that the city continues to get AA+ from our bonders when we go out to borrow money. And so it is really a very, very important industry. But 50 years doing this, what he said to me in his oral history. And so this is a great place to be. Nobody has even sailed out in the ocean. He had. And so that was the beginning of an industry that you see today, where we have thousands and thousands of boats that are sailboats that are registered here, and we have very, very professional people who, professional meaning they sail for money around the world on dangerous around the world cruises, competition, as well as other competition, and as well as in the Olympic sports. Now, this community that we are going through was a waterman's. This is where people who made their living on the water basically lived. It was very much a blue-collar community, but it was also one where the very first loans that were made by Farmers National Bank, which is now BB&T, were given to the middle class, blue-collar workers for homes. People were coming over from other countries to work at the Naval Academy in the 1800s, mid-1800s, and a loan program was established, the first one actually in this country, for people who were not people of wealth to build and maintain their homes. So a number of these Eastport homes actually date back to the late 1800s. We're going to go across the creek, across Spot Creek, and this is an historical little creek. It's very narrow. We do, MRE does a race across it once a year, in part of our tradition of being a very, very special place. We also do a tug of war across Spot Creek, which is in the Guinness Book of Records, between competing sides over there and over here. Let me tell you an old story of that. There was a man by the name of Hill, and this is in the late 1600s, who owned much of the Eastport Peninsula. But he was also a contributor and lived downtown on the other side where all the gentry and very wealthy people lived. But he would come over to this peninsula to run his horses and shoot his gun, and to which a delegation from the Eastport, the Annapolis Historic District side, sent a group of people coming rowing across the creek to tell him to please not make so much noise. And I would try that distinction between the two and the differences between the two has not changed in 400 years. 350, whatever the number is. If you go across Spot Creek, Annapolis in the 1700s, of course, was the commercial center, and so boats from ships, actually, from all around the world came into this harbor. Baltimore didn't exist. It existed after the Revolutionary War because there was more water and it was deeper, and the boats were getting larger. There is some indication that the Baltimore Clipper, in fact, was first built in Annapolis, but that's not documented. It's only supposed from a number of different kinds of documentation that says, we think that first Clipper was really built right down here at the bottom of Prince George Street. But the proof is still needs to be further documented, just like genealogy. You know things, but you don't know things. When you go across Spot Creek, you need to, besides the fact that we had our own tea party and the boat was burned and its remnants are somewhere down in the muck down there in Spot Creek. But it was also a creek that built during World War I subchasers, but during World War II it built PT boats. It is also a creek where Owens cruisers, which was the competitor to Crisscroft, originated. They first were built on that creek. It is where the famous Trumpy yachts moved from New Jersey down here to become the classic yachts that we know are built on Spot Creek. On this side, most of this happened on the Eastport side, by the way, of that creek. The America's Cup fame, which was built in the middle 1800s and raced, challenged England and won, was sent here by President Roosevelt to be restored because we had all of the good workers that could really restore boats. And it was housed down near where the chart house is now, and where the Trumpy boats took on their first life, their second life, their first life here. But a spring storm in April, heavy snowstorm came, broke down the shed, and the boat was never restored. In fact, it was splintered in many different parts, and all over Annapolis there are parts of the America, in the woodwork of a number of the different houses. So this, you can see it's not huge, it's narrow, long, but it is a story. It is a creek that has so many stories and so much that happened to it in its lifetime. This is the Carroll Mansion over here. I don't think it's going yet today, but it wasn't called Carroll's Creek. It's called Spot Creek. At one time it was called Carroll Creek, and then it had another name, and no one wasn't sure why it became Spot Creek at all. So that's really the few things I wanted to tell you about the maritime industry. It is protected by zoning on Spot Creek and then on Back Creek, so that high rises and residential walling off of the waterfront cannot happen. The Back Creek is the industrial zone. 100% must have 100% maritime up and down that creek, and so this is an industry that helped this zoning helped this industry prosper. We also became known internationally by the first in the water boat show, which is the premier boat show, which is held right over here in October, 2 weeks, both sailing and powerboat. That's really put us on the map, but really put us on the map internationally. And so down at the end of the dock, we will also have the Maritime Hall, the Sailing Hall of Fame. We have a Maritime Hall of Fame. And the people that are in that actually are part of the Maritime Museum that we just left. I'm not sure that those plaques have been put up because we didn't talk about it, you didn't see them, but there are women that are in the Maritime Hall of Fame, which has a broader definition than the Sailing Hall of Fame. So that's it about our maritime industry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions? Yeah.
Can you update us on what's happening with the Sailing Hall of Fame?
The sailing, yeah, sure. Sailing Hall of Fame is collecting their money. They've passed all of the things that they need to pass with both the zoning as with the state. Their plans are in, they're passed the historic muster, and so they're really raising their money.
Wow.
They and I don't know what their timeline is in terms of when they're going to start digging into the water.
They have an approved architectural
They do,
design and they're
yes.
ready to go.
Yeah. They have all their approvals. So now it's about, in this economy, it's about the money.
It's always about
It's always about the money, if you will, yeah.
How many years has that process taken?
3, actually. You know, it could take certainly much longer, but it's moved, and you know, I think you know, people. Yes, there was some controversy relative to it. Be sure that the architecture fit in with the architecture of the city as a whole. And it's innovative, but it does, and it'll provide all the kinds of, you know, up-to-date technology that younger people know how to do really well, and some of the rest of us quite don't know how to well. And just by the way, you know, they were talking about, you know, the burning of the socks, which has been this is probably a 40-year tradition now. You know, you burn your socks and then you don't wear socks until November when you can put them back on. That is the tradition, and so you'll see people, you know, the lawyers and everybody else in Annapolis much more casually dressed than in Baltimore County or other places, and you know, with their boat shoes and those socks. I did not happen to be here for the burning of the socks. I was in New York at Lake Placid at the foot of a ski resort. But they had a little fire going, and I have to tell you, I burned my socks.
Symbolically.
I wouldn't have a wedding today. I can't do a wedding without socks.
Well, where'd you grow up?
Baltimore. I lived in
Baltimore.
Eastport for 20 years, so come on.
Yeah, it didn't rub off.
Eastport for 20 years. I can't do a wedding this afternoon. I wear my boat shoes though.
Oh, you got your boat shoes.
Maryland State Teachers Association, Linda, you want to say something? It's right there.
Maryland State Teachers Association headquarters is past the white brick building on the right, and we have a women's history exhibit in the lobby. So we're going to be in Annapolis later this weekend or tonight. Walk by there. Couldn't get in tonight, but we'd be happy to share that information.
You may notice outside of the MSTA and up Francis Street, there are the flags for Read Across Maryland, which you know, we help to support and to initiate, and there are flags that are in on the flagpole of each school, also within the city. That started with the kickoff of Dr. Seuss Day. We do in the city fly different flags when the legislature is in session. The Maryland flag is up when the Navy football games are on. The Navy N flag flies. 4th of July it's the American flag, and different times it's the city flag. All official flags of the city. And soon, the flower baskets will go up. So come back and see downtown in bloom. We were identified just recently by Forbes magazine as one of the top 20 prettiest cities in the country. I'll share that with you. Of course, that didn't happen to make the local press. We were also identified by American Style magazine as one of the top 25 cities for the arts. That did not make the Annapolis press either.
What is it with the Annapolis?
You have to ask Mr. Marquardt.
Pretty soon you won't be five with their many papers. There will be there.
Most small towns, we are a small town by definition in terms of population. We're very cosmopolitan in terms of visitor population. When you get awards and honors like that that are national, you know, they would feature at that in some sort of a headline.
Because I want to take
Yes, thank you. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we're coming back. I'll get you about 2 so you can leave your stuff on for life.
Oh, you know what?
Oh, my little packet is in there.
You can leave it on there.
Oh, okay. I put it on there.
Thank you.
Hi. Oh no, don't. Excuse us.
Yes. You like him?
It's okay with you if I take you coming off the bus? Sure. No problem? Okay.
I've been here yet? Oh, you know the last time I was here? When Jill was inducted into the Maryland Hall of Fame. Yes. Great, thank you so much for coming in. Sure. She's right there. So she will introduce you. Okay. Check with Karen and the mayor's office about the speaking times. Okay. This is Jill Moss Greenberg, who is...
I've met Jill Moss Greenberg.
Yeah, we have.
I'm Betty Weller.
Hi, Betty.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
We announced as we passed MSTA, Kids Women's History.
Yes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it.
It was wonderful.
Not Lloyd.
You didn't have far to come, luckily.
No, just up the street. So, I'm going to be
Can you stay for lunch? Sure. Maryland State Teacher Association's chair of the Women's Concerns Committee, and I wanted to introduce you to our next speaker. Betty Weller is currently the Vice President of Maryland State Teachers Association. Before that, she was the treasurer for 6 years, a board member for 4 years, and a lifelong educator. Ms. Weller is a graduate of Washington College in Chestertown. She taught primarily language arts and science for 32 years in Kent County, Maryland. She has 2 grown daughters, and she still lives in Chestertown. And at MSTA headquarters, we just passed not long ago on our little trip. And that means that she is coming back and forth all the time. to come to work every day at MSTA, and she is the board liaison to the Women's Concerns Committee, so I'm really thrilled to introduce her to you today.
Somebody told me how long I had to speak, so I declare Floyd. For many years, educators have primarily been women, and isn't it interesting that women weren't celebrated? Without education, there would be no other jobs. So even the most successful men wouldn't be there without women. At MSTA, we encourage and celebrate the accomplishments of women. We have an award called the Dorothy Lloyd Women's Rights Award that we like to give out annually. Dorothy Lloyd was an MSTA staffer who retired in 1981 after 25 years of service. She was a dedicated advocate for educators who began her career as a secretary for the Teachers Association of Baltimore County. And after retiring as a staffer, she became the director of publications for the Maryland State Teachers Association. Her commitment to equity was reflected in her roles as a consultant to the Human Rights and Education Committee and liaison to the original women's leadership cadre. Dorothy served as a role model for many MSTA women activists and as a mentor for entry-level MSTA women staffers. Our Women's Concerns Committee still pays tribute to Dorothy Lloyd today with this award, and we're proud to have many of our leadership positions at MSTA filled by women. Quickly, I want to share one more thing. I went on the Maryland Women's Heritage Center website, and I found a lot of interesting stuff. Anybody ever been there? There's great information about women. Did you know that the first woman candidate for president was Victoria Woodhull, a member of the Equal Rights Party, who ran in 1872? Did you know that internationally there are 13 elected heads of state who are women? And in the United States there are 8 women governors and 10 women lieutenant governors. It's taken us a long time to get there, and while progress has been made, there's still lots of room for improvement. So you young ladies down there, take heed. I also found an article about an unsung heroine named Mildred Morris. It caught my eye because she's from the Eastern Shore, which is where I live. I'd never heard of her. Turns out she was Margaret Collins's grandmother, but to Margaret, she was a hero. Why? This is a quote from Margaret's article. She may never have done anything to make headlines in a newspaper, but she was a devoted and selfless woman who raised her family with love and encouragement, and she set an example for all of us to live by. The basic values she passed on to all of us will never go out of style. We all know a woman like that, don't we? Have a wonderful tour, a fabulous day, and thank you for letting me share lunch with you.
I just want to say that MSTA has been a partner with the Maryland Women's History Project. It was started in 1981, and they have been so supportive of making sure that women's history is incorporated into all of our schools. And wanted to give Betty for MSTA. They were one of the sponsors of our 20th anniversary when we did a women's history poster, which is now being redone with the Maryland Women's Heritage Center logo and website on it.